We all know how important incorporating culture, social justice, interculturality is in our world language classrooms. However, let's face it, there just doesn't seem to be enough time to incorporate all these wonderful things that we talk about and that we see done on Instagram, on Facebook, and on all the things. And so today I'm going to talk about 3 things in your classroom to kind of bump up your social justice, your interculturality, and just basically culture in your classroom. 1, when you are selecting material for your classroom and you are looking for things that are featuring AR verbs, ER verbs, IR verbs, you often go to what the textbook supplies or whatever is just easiest at hand. I say push a little harder. Go and find some authentic resources. Often it's just a quick Google search, or sometimes it's just a little TPT search, and we've already done the work for you. And you can find resources that feature authentic target culture, target language, and it's just really cool because then after you do the work on AR verbs, you can then talk about, well, hey, what was some of the cool stuff that was featured in this resource or in this video? For example, there is a video online. I love this video. It's by, oh my gosh, who is it by? Lingua TV. And it's about introductions, and it's this guy's in a club, and maybe some of you have seen it. He's in a club and he approaches a female and he talks to her, but then her friend comes and they're using super basic vocabulary, but it's very humorous because of the expressions and the vocabulary, that how it's being used. And so kids tend to find this funny. My middle schoolers tend to find this kind of funny, but they don't realize that there's an element of diversity in this video. The diversity that's being displayed is diversity of dialect and language. The male speaker asks the friend, where is she from? And he misspeaks. He says the wrong place, and she corrects him and tells him where she's from. And these 2 places often get confused. And so you can have a discussion with your students afterwards about the basic lexicon that was featured in the video, but then you can also talk about, well, what makes a dialect and what makes an accent? How many accents and dialects will you come across in Spanish? Which is an impossible question, but I think that it's an interesting question. And what makes a dialect or an accent a prestige dialect or accent versus another one? And so I think that these are things that are very interesting to address in the classroom. And I think that kind of, you wouldn't think it, but it does push forward an element of social justice and diversity, because when you think of the use of vos, or when you think of the use of ella, that's all language politics. And so I think that it's just fascinating. In addition to finding YouTube videos that feature the target culture, the target language, and creating questions to go along with it, comprehension questions, I do the same with another website that has audio on it, and it's called Audiolingua. And Audiolingua has speech samples that you can download and you can listen to them and play them for your students, and it's from around the Spanish-speaking world. You can sort by level, so some of the levels are super duper duper high, and then some of the levels are like A1, I believe. They use like the European system. It's actually from around the world. They have speech samples from France, from all over the place. And so you can have your students do comprehension questions. You know, how many brothers do they have? How many sisters do they have? What are their parents' names, etc., while talking about some of the comprehension questions, such as brothers, sisters, etc., parents. You can also dig into some of the names of the people, such as Jose Maria. This happened in one of my classes. And so one of my students was like, Jose Maria, is that a guy? Is that a girl? Like, what's going on there? And I was like, what a great question. And so we talked about an aspect of the culture, the target cultures around Latin America and Spain, that a lot of these countries are mostly Roman Catholic, and so Maria and Jose are very popular names, and a lot of names, regardless of whether they're a boy or a girl, they get Maria tacked on to their name. And so I have personally met people with Maria as part of their name, and they were a guy. My students find this very fascinating, and I do too. I find it as a fascinating thing to teach in the classroom, because students have views of what it means to be male and female, and part of that is your name. And so I actually really enjoy that part of it. 3, if you desire to work on a project, you really are like, I want to work on that Afro-Latino project. I want to work on that art history project that's in the Teachers Pay Teachers. So you're a very men's classroom. I'm just joking. But if you, say for instance, you do want to work on the art history project, and you have no time, there is no time to do this in the classroom, flip it. Have them do it at home. Have these kids do it at home. They have to do it at home. It is their responsibility. Give them a month or however long you want to give them, and have them do the work at home. Create a gallery wall, a digital gallery wall at the end so that everyone can walk through it. Create a reflection sheet. I believe there is one in there, a reflection sheet of the different projects that students saw. And now your students not only did their project, but they learned about 30 other, or I hope you don't have 30 students. I really hope you don't. I might. I hope you don't. But 30-ish students, they learned about them. So it's beautiful. And when you do flip it like that, instead of spending 2 weeks and you shut down class and that's all you do. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I shut down class and that's all I do. And then sometimes I flip it and it's your responsibility to learn this and to bring it back. So there you have it. 3 ways that you can incorporate culture in your classroom. And you know what? Regardless of time, you can do this. You can incorporate it in the things that you already do, that you're already teaching. Just make sure that you're using authentic material and that you're having some sort of debriefing after it, some sort of discussion after it about how the culture is being featured in whatever the media is that you're choosing to use. Also, be sure to use different things like audiolingua that you can, pull comprehension questions from, and you can test the students' knowledge of different areas, and then you can still ask them questions about what different things mean and even what cool words mean, like ay, que guay. Like, they wouldn't learn that in the textbook, and that is definitely a very popular Spanish word. And so finally, if you want to work on a long project, just flip it. Have them work on it at home. It is something that they have to learn, and if they have to learn it, they can work on it at home. It's like homework, remember that? And so just flip it on them, have them work on it over time, give them a lot of time to work on it, check in with them every so often, and create some sort of gallery walk, whether digital or in person, so that the other kids can learn from it and reflect. All right, guys, check out my playlist on culture, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Ciao.